So what I say.
In the 1960s, I was just one of thousands of kids, I think, who lived on a steady diet of live rock and roll music. We had a lot of great groups, but when two of the greatest groups joined forces, we were pretty excited. We had no way of knowing, of course, that within a matter of months, the whole world would be excited. The group was the Guess Who, and its two key members, Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings, and this is the way they were. Two of the coolest guys in town then and now, Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman, join me. And what a pleasure to say that you're working and writing together again. And that's exciting news for both of you.
It's a pleasure for us. We didn't know what the writing would be like. I think that's the biggest bonus of being back together, really. We knew we could play, and we knew we could play the older records and stuff, but the recording and the writing of new stuff is the most exciting, and I think we're back on the track. Immediately we got back on track writing, so that's the most important thing.
You're different guys now, I suppose, but in a way the same. I guess, I don't know, Randy, you look at that, and that's got to be 67 or something like that. You say, who was that kid? Who is that? Who was the kid at piano? Who was the kid on guitar? Who were you then, and are you much the same now or changed?
Then we were, well, actually at that clip we just saw, Laughing, it was the beginning of an identity that we managed to find or eke out of all the other influences we had in Winnipeg, which, as you know, at the time was very British. Winnipeg had a great pipeline. When British bands would start a tour at that time, they'd come and start the tour in Winnipeg. We would end up being the opening act and play the Playhouse or the Auditorium. Or
so you were full of that spirit, of that hey,
we wanted to be a little bit different, and we kind of copied everybody for a while, because when you played dances, you had to play the hits then, and assimilated that into our own style. Some was easy to do because it came very natural. And once we hit These Eyes and Laughing, there was a period of time there that suddenly we began to realize, you know, when you start to sell records and they're hit records, people are buying your identity. It doesn't matter where you got it from. You've changed it enough from whatever you were copying, the Beatles or Elvis or Dylan or whatever, in those days. And suddenly you've put your own little mark on it, or new, different flavor icing on the cake, because the cake is, 8 notes and the same chords over and over. You just find a different way, to throw the cake together.
You start, I guess, feeling like a star, which is a great feeling for a teenager. And I mean, Burton, you guys were stars before you made records. I mean, you were stars on the circuit in Winnipeg. Were you feeling pretty good there? Everyone says, this guy looks pretty cool.
Actually, when I was still in the Devrons, we had an incredible following. By the time I was about 15 or 16, I was being treated like a world-class artist.
Girls would follow you around concert to concert, really?
Still in high school. Actually, I was still in St. John's High when Blue as the Night came out, and I'll never forget, the next day, I went to school the next day after it was released. The day it was released, it went to #1 on the Instant 11 that night on CKY, because our families all phoned in,
Oh, yeah.
And to go back to high school the next day with a hit record on the radio, walking down the hall, I mean, I felt like John Lennon, it was unbelievable. To be 17 and in school and have a hit record, there's no way you could describe that.
I want to ask each of you how, if it's possible to keep that from turning your head, because I think it does. But first, I want to play a little game with the audience, because we have a little bit more tape there. There was also a lesser light on the Winnipeg Community Club circuit at that time, and we have a fairly up-to-date clip of this person. See if you can guess who this is as we roll some videotape of one of Randy's best-known songs.
They get up every morning from the alarm clocks for the every day.
if you know your rock and roll, you know that was Neil Young. And Neil Young,
the hairdo, you can't mistake that.
and the trademark slouch kind of thing. Neil Young idealized this guy, didn't he, Burton? When
As a matter of fact,
hero.
you can still look on the second Buffalo Springfield album, and each guy in the Springfield at that time dedicated the album to their favorite guys and their idols or peers or whatever, and Randy's name is right up under Hank B. Marvin in Neil's list. So he was a hero of Neil's for a long time.
And the great feeling, as you were telling me before, to be with not only the people who became stars out of that scene, but the people who went back to working ordinary jobs and came out to play for one night for the Variety Club, we should say.
That was a tremendous weekend, very emotional for all of us. I think the vibe in the air was so thick you could have cut it with a knife. I wouldn't have missed that for the world.
Neither could a lot of the fans in Winnipeg, I know. Let's talk about another kind of emotion. You know what they used to say? Well, you guys broke up. That's water under the bridge in a way. But they used to say, hey, they'll never work together again. They're too different in temperament. They can't work together again. It's all over. Now, was that true to you? Was there a period where you guys just didn't like each other and just thought, never again will I work with Cummings?
Yeah, you really, well, as you grow up, the same thing might happen with you. It happens to people who get married too young. You get married as a teenager, and around 20, 21, 22, you change. You go through a growth period, and you say, I'm not into this girl anymore. She's not into me. You know, that happens to a lot of marriages. We were together from the time we were 14 or 15, and I was with the Guess Who 11 years when I left in 70. Burton stayed on another 6 years, and it's just kind of a natural. Looking back now, it wasn't very natural then. It was kind of hard and a lot of tears and some bitter feelings and stuff. To look back now, it seemed like a natural thing to come together, to go apart, to come together, as forces naturally bring you together, destiny or whatever you want to call it.
You rediscovered a lot of the things that you originally really liked about this guy, right?
Yes.
Tell me about Burton Cummings. What kind of guy he is? I see him on stage and see him off stage. What's he like to you?
He has a very quick and witty sense of humor, and that's he's funny to be around. He's the life of the party, and always has a joke. Does great impressions, impersonations, kind of thing. He can do a few for you right now. And he's very talented musically, and for some reason, we both like the same music, and it's very hard to find somebody who likes the same music. As teenagers, and we're about 3 or 4 years apart in age, I was maybe a little bit younger than my age, and he was a little bit older, because 2 or 3 years when you're a teenager makes a big difference in the music you like or don't like. Well, but we got this stuff from England, and orally, with our ears, ate it up. Georgie Fame, The Shadows, Cliff Richards, and then the Beatles.
You guys are walking encyclopedias of rock and roll. There's no doubt about that.
That's why we write songs so well together. I can play him something and say, remember this song on some obscure British album? He'll say, oh yeah, and he'll latch right into it. Whereas if I play it for another person, they'll say, that's a stupid guitar part. We're not into that. But he knows all these little...
See, we had the same influences, and we were discovering the same things at the same time. You know, when you grow up with somebody in the same hometown, and you're listening to either CKY or CKRC in those days, I mean, we were both being influenced at the identical moment. You know, simultaneous influence creates...
so you're musical brothers.
Yeah, there's a mental musical bond between us that's... it'll never change. It will never die.
And in terms of personality, is it complementary? Randy seems so serious and studious as a player. I mean, you really concentrate on what you're doing. You're playing sizzling riffs, right? But what's Randy like? I want to ask you.
He's like, you know, I'm an only child. And he's like the big brother I never had, really. You know, he was always the leader of the band. He was always the authority figure. When we first went on the road, I was, you know, I had just turned 18. I just dropped out of school. He kind of looked after me a little bit. I mean, this all sounds very, you know, we're big guys now, and this all sounds very cliche, but it's very true. I was a young kid that didn't know anything, and so he was kind of like a big brother to me. So, you know, he's done a lot for me through the years. I mean, he forced me to learn how to play guitar. I would never, ever have learned how to play guitar.
You saw him playing guitar last night?
Yeah, he was there.
If it hadn't been
See his
for
hot
him.
Van Halen ending?
He wasn't strong enough.
No, he turned down and he went out and I said, do it. And I was doing all these things and he was out in front of me.
Yeah.
And some guys in the crowd couldn't see me behind him playing, and they were going, Burton's doing all that, and he was doing all these things. It was fun.
The fact of the matter is, and I must say this, is that you guys are on the road again. You're writing and recording together again, and I hope the radio programmers have enough kindness to show us what you play. but the musical memories that piled up at the concert I was at last night were simply staggering. And
Thank you.
I think everybody in our audience who knows and likes your kind of music are happy you're back together, and it's good to see either of you anytime.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll shake on that.
Yeah.
Okay.